This is a message to all my supporters of this podcast. I'm introducing a new supporters program. You can contribute a small amount as a one-off payment to show your love for this podcast. Thank you in advance for all your contributions.
A payroll and HR company needs to be prepared for whatever is going to happen. You could say that over 70 years of experience helping businesses all over the world run smoothly is good preparation. But for ADP, that's not enough. To make sure millions of people are getting paid on time and in compliance, we're staying on top of each new piece of legislation. So when it comes down to it, ADP isn't just a payroll and HR company. We're the company that helps you navigate the complexities. ADP, HR talent, time, benefits, and payroll. Informed by data and designed for people.
Hi, my name's Mark Hayward. This is the Absolute Business Mindset podcast. Here are some of my thoughts, ideas and comments. And lastly, I would say I'm a corporate employee with an entrepreneurial mindset. So today I'm going to talk about 5 people that have influenced me in my life. They come from the arena of sport, of politics and business. Now you're going to be able to work out how old I am, or roughly how old I am, because most of the people had a major influence in the 90s when I was growing up. So it's going to be pretty clear that this is the sort of time frame that really had the biggest impact on me. Equally, I could have included people from the music arena and more from sport, really, and there are a few of the business people in there as well. So, first of all, wanted to start. There's 5 people that I'm going to talk about. Not in any particular order of importance, just 5 people that have made a major influence on my life. So let's start with number 1. So the first one is from the sporting arena, and this is Brian Charles Lara. So this guy in the 90s played cricket. So some of you might know cricket, some of you might not know cricket, but in England is a bit of a big deal. And Brian Lara was a West Indian cricketer who came from quite simple origins, quite simple background, but had a major influence on the cricketing arena because he just kept on scoring runs. So he was a batsman, and he had the record for the highest individual total in a test match, which was 475 and 465 and 485, I think it was. He held it twice, and then he held the largest score in any competition with 501 as well. Now, the reason why this guy is so important is the dedication and the skill that this person had. Now, don't get me wrong, some of it was natural ability and some of it was dedication. He was one of the first cricketers to actually be able to merchandise and be able to, so he got bats where no one was ever. You had your traditional people who made bats and that was it. He endorsed things, he went out there and marketed himself. A lot of people threw a load of criticism because of it, but essentially he knew he had a short career and he needed to make as much money whilst being that as he could. There's a couple of really interesting things on YouTube about the period of when he scored the Test match world record to the one he scored 501, and that period where he had huge amounts of pressure to do adverts, to endorsements, to speaking engagements, and he was able to balance them both. He failed as a captain, pretty much. Often in cricket, the greatest batsmen or players are not necessarily the greatest captains, but what a guy. The concentration, discipline, had a real flair, attacked. He never really stood on the back foot at all. So really interesting guy. As I say, the interesting bit of it is that he just learned, he just realised he needed to do some merchandising and broke the boundaries. Now, what people do now, he was doing in the 90s, and in the 90s cricket was very, very different. 2020 hadn't existed, and a lot of people were very traditional and didn't like people going out of their box. So a real trailblazer. But the one thing, scoring that many runs, batting over days to be able to score 501 and 485, discipline, concentration, dedication, incredible. So I think that he was one of those people that well before his time changed cricket, left it in a better place at the end of it, and meant that the great players were able to get a decent living out of it as well, because they were ready to be able to merchandise. So excellent man. Right, second person I'm going to talk about is Nelson Mandela. Now, I think everyone here will have heard of Nelson Mandela, unless you were born under a rock. The guy was simply incredible. Humble, a giant in the political arena. He was a freedom fighter. He was put in prison for 23 years, and then came out and had no angst or no anger against the people who were captives. He just then became a great politician. And a couple of people I'm going to talk about here were great in their time and have lost their legacy. This guy just got better, and with age he just got better and better. I'll never forget in early 90s when in the walk that he did out of the prison, and the number of people that were there in South Africa just following him, and that walk with his wife Winnie Mandela. I think it was his second or third wife, so I understand his personal life was a bit of a nightmare, but it didn't cut anything away from his fantastic political public life. So he was just humility and being able to analyse, be able to make good choices when he was president, in a really difficult arena where there were a lot of black people that were still angry and upset with the apartheid regime. He came out and was immediately thrust into the political and the public arena, and he was just simply an amazing figure. His early days when he was freedom fighting and he was training as a lawyer, he was a real rebellious young man, and what prison didn't take away from him. He's been quoted as saying that he just didn't let prison take the best of him out of him. And I think that's just when you're put under that amount of just being put into that horrible situation and not letting it make you bitter or angry is just simply unheard of. I don't think many other people would have been able to do that. So just a true giant in the political arena. So I don't think there's anyone more important than him in the political arena in the last 50 years probably. Just great. Anyway, right, next one is Richard Branson. So the world of entrepreneurial business, so something that we've sort of touched on before. Richard Branson, amazing, started his career as selling a small paper for student union, and selling papers. He then went on and did the Virgin Records, which was the first unheard of being able to pick up records and then sell them on afterwards. He made a load of money with Virgin Records, and he was he bought. I just love the fact that he had the first major deal. I think it was with Tubular Bells, the guy from Tubular Bells, I can't remember his name at the moment. He made his first major deal and bought an island. Isn't that just amazing? The British Virgin Islands, Necker Island, that's just what dreams are made of. And what I like about him is he's had longevity, and he's got multiple businesses, and he's dealt with every little business as a completely different entity and different way of approaching each thing. Some of these he's sold, Virgin Records, for example. Some of them he's kept, like Virgin Airways. Some of them he's innovated, the innovation on having Virgin Galactic as well, really pushing the boundaries of normal people going into space. Virgin Railways, which he's been successful on as well, and had the first tilting trains. We're just talking about a true innovative man who has... So I was listening to his second biography, and he was talking about his airlines in Australia, and the fact that he ended up having to sell it. And I think that's what I like about him. It's not just it's one other point I want to make about it, but it's that he's been able to sell equity, build businesses, and know when the right moment to do certain things is. And he's stuck to his guns. He's gone to law courts where he's been sued or damages, and he's won. He went against the government with the railways and won. It's just a truly incredible man. And then one of the things in the 90s that I just loved about him, he's a venture. So something we don't think of him so much about now, but when in the 90s, he's ballooning around the world and different sort of feats of the amphibian vehicle, just incredible. The guy would just push boundaries. Whatever area he's been in, he's always been pushing right to the edge. I just love that. I just think he's just incredible human being who deserves to be Sir Richard Branson, and just for me was a defining figure on being able to be resourceful, be important, be clever and savvy and business-minded, just an incredible human being, and then had this extra edge that he used to be an adventurer, and on a couple of occasions nearly died on these balloons. It's just an incredible human being. I just love his story, love his story. So well done, that's brilliant. Well, the last two are people who were great in the 90s and then lost their legacy. So I'm going to talk briefly about why they were so good at the start, and then we're going to explore a little bit of why the legacy went and why their reputation has gone. So the fourth person we're going to talk about, I'm going to talk to you about, is Lance Armstrong, the cyclist. So Lance Armstrong won the Tour de France, the largest, best, highest paid, the most prestigious cycling race, the Tour de France. He won it 7 times, unheard of. I think the last person, Eddie Merckx, won it 5 times. So he knew how to win. He could kid you, he could cajole you, he could ride up mountains, he could do time trials, he could do lone breaks. The guy was just incredible. Took on the best in cycling, and at the time, we believed that he was a non-doper, which is something that's plagued cycling for many a time, is the doping. And he was supposed to be the person that won it 7 times clean. And we never thought it was going to happen to him because he was so good. And the incredible story about him is that he had cancer, just testicular cancer, and then came back and was an even better cyclist after testicular cancer. So I remember reading his book and just being truly amazed about someone who could be 80% going to die and then could come back and win the hardest cycling race in the world 7 times. And I would actually say cyclists are one of the fittest people any sportsman that there are. These guys ride for 3 weeks consecutively. They might have a couple of rest days, but basically for 21 days they ride up mountains, on cobbles, on flat roads, everywhere. It is a truly, truly, truly remarkable feat that these guys do. And I think that's the reason why so many dopers were involved, was because it just was so incredibly difficult and hard to do that you needed to take drugs to be successful. So
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hi, I'm Alex, the host of X Health Show. Meet the future of healthcare. Think X-Men, that's X Health. Actual superheroes behind programming living cells to cure cancer once and for all. Tech that detects preterm delivery in seconds, brain-computer interface, or apps that employ AI to match you, your disease, with the best treatment. X Health Show brings to you visionaries who push the boundaries of healthcare from Switzerland, the heart of Europe and the most innovative country in the world. Let me introduce you to their startups. Head to X Health Show, meet the future of healthcare. Happy to greet you there.
The whole, in the 90s we had bands around our arms that was Live Strong. He merchandised, he excelled, he had great commercial decisions that he made. Financially he was just beyond, he was under great contracts. He had the full package. Dated music stars, was involved in politics. He just got into he was one of the most important people in the 90s, and this is a simple cyclist. But because of his illness, because how he came back, because he kept on winning in the hardest sport, one of the hardest sports in the world, everyone just was amazed. And he then came back, his second attempt, and to be honest, I think, my personal opinion is, if he hadn't have come back, I don't think he would have been doped. He would have found out that he was a doper. I don't know if you know the story, but essentially he was found out to have doped and admitted it publicly, had all of his Tour de France stripped from him. On all the other races, he's had to pay back advertising campaign money from Nike. I think he's had to pay back for the Postal Service, which was one of the sponsors of the race that he was in, or the teams that he was riding in, and it was really devastating. It sounds like, how can someone, you don't know them, how can it be devastating? But knowing what he did and the story of how he did it is just incredibly saddening that he wasn't able to be clean. And it was one of those people that really upset me when I found out that he admitted that he had doped for as long as he had. Just was an incredible liar. That's what we ended up making him out to be, or making him what he was an incredible liar. He believed that he was better and he could do it because he deserved it. A real sad day when I found out he doped. So sad, very, very sad. And then the last person I want to talk about who had an influence on me was Tony Blair. So, unsurprisingly, if you understand Nelson Mandela and Tony Blair, I did a politics degree, as I've described before. And Tony Blair swept to government in the 90s under a new regime of the Labour Party, of politics in the UK. He hobnobbed with the musicians and the writers, and he made Britain cool. And lots of it wasn't him. There was all the music with Oasis and Britpop, and sport was great then, and politics really tagged onto that and really made an incredible impact on my life. because I was seeing change that had not actually happened since the 60s, and I admired Tony Blair very, very much because I thought he was an incredible man, incredible leader. He won three general elections, which is just virtually unheard of, and so I had great. He worked with Gordon Brown, who was a long time collaborator, but also he was one who was trying to do one over him. So the skill of being able to work with people that you may not necessarily like is a great skill. He was a great orator. He was very good at speaking, powerful words, eloquent, amazing. Just loved listening to his speeches. He was radical in some of his policies. He put a lot of money into the NHS, into housing, into other things, and you might not agree with Labour, you might not. So Labour is the sort of working class, but he revolutionised the party, made them into a modern nearly 21st century model. He changed the foundations of the party because he saw the future had to be slightly different, and it was an incredible time where a lot of change occurred in the political arena, and an incredible man, but he will forever in the UK and probably America as well be known as the person who went to war with George W. Bush, who went to go and fight Saddam. And basically there wasn't a foundation for the war, and this is another legacy. If he hadn't gone to war, I think he would have been remembered as a great Prime Minister, but with going to war and them not finding nuclear or chemical weapons, and the sort of sexing up a dossier is one of the history. You should look back at it. It was quite a major story, and he had a great team around him, but I think they ended up starting to believe their own press, and arrogance came in rather than being humble. And what I love about Nelson Mandela was his humility. What I don't like about Tony Blair was that he ended up being an arrogant leader, an arrogant person, because he never ever admitted he's fought. Even now, he will not take it, and he will say that the war against Iraq was worthwhile, and we know that the basis of that war wasn't true. So he either knew that or he was given bad information. Either way, a truly incredible political leader in the UK anyway, who lost his legacy on going to war. So these are some of the people that have made a major impact on my life. I just thought it would be interesting to share some of the people that's inspired me in my past, because it gives you a little bit of a window into me, gives you a little bit of window into great people in different arenas, and how you've had people that have kept their legacy and people who have lost their legacy. So it was important to give a balance of some of these great people. And just generally, these people were incredibly important to me whilst growing up, and they've been a foundation for what makes me me. So there we go. Right, I'd like you to check me out on Twitter, MarkHayward169, YouTube, you got my videos. I would also like you, when you download this, to subscribe to the podcast as well. It'd be great if you could subscribe. You can get it every release day. I release on a Sunday and a Thursday. I would love you to tell someone about this podcast if you like this and you listen to me regularly, or even if it's the first time and you liked what I was talking about. Check out my other podcasts. It's the Absolute Business Mindset podcast, and tell someone, tell a friend, tell someone you don't like, but tell someone, all right? I want you to tell someone, friend, family, whoever it is, just tell someone about the podcast. That'd be great. And the last thing is for a request is to go onto iTunes, because I imagine most people are going to use iTunes, and give me a review. I'd love to hear what you think of my podcasts. Some feedback would be fantastic. What you like, what you don't like, what you'd like me to continue to do, what I want me to start or stop. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So please, just in iTunes, give me a review out of 5 and give me some comments. That would be absolutely fantastic. Right, thank you very much. Absolute Business Mindset Podcast. Thank you.